Back in Business. I'm Danny Williamson, and I've got Dr. Yana Clayman here. She is she's a pharmacist, traditionally trained pharmacist, and she's going to blow your mind tonight as we're going to be talking about a functional medicine approach to autism, ADD, ADHD, neurodiversity, things like that. And I'm so excited to have you here tonight, sis. I really am. This is Dr. Clayman's very first Facebook Live going out to the universe. And we're going to show her some love tonight. So as you all log on, I need you to hit your heart buttons, hit your like buttons, tell us where you're from, post your comments up in the comments, and we will share those. And we'll ask Dr. Clayman if she doesn't know the answers, then she will get back to you. How's that?
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Danny, for having me on. It's so great to be here.
You are so welcome.
And thank you everyone who's joining us. It's Sunday and you're here watching this conversation. I hope that you walk away with some really helpful takeaways.
Absolutely. We're going to have a great time here. So I'm going to give you guys a few little statistics while you're logging on. You know, it is thought that about 15 to 20% of the world's population is neurodivergent or neurodiverse. And I don't like to use the word neurodivergent, honestly. I think it sounds kind of, I don't know. It just doesn't sound as kind as neurodistinct or neurodiverse. All right. 15 to 20% of the world's population is neurodiverse. And that includes up to 10% of people with dyslexia, 5% with ADHD, and 1 to 2% with autism. This is just a little snapshot. This doesn't include ADD or any of that. Do you know that the further up the career ladder that people climb, more individuals self-identify as neurodiverse? Think about this, including 55% of business owners, 45% of C-level executives, so the top, right? The corporate level, the C-level, those are the big dogs at the top, and 32% of senior management. I don't doubt it. One of my dear friends that I met a couple of years ago, he lives in California. He's a big wig with Google, really high up with Google. He's autistic. He coined the term neurodistinct. He told me, he said, Silicon Valley, as well as Temple Grandin said this, probably the most famous autistic woman out there. She said, Silicon Valley, Google, none of that would exist without autistic adults. Right?
I believe that, because also think about the stress that these people are under. And we know that stress will exacerbate these conditions.
Yes.
It's directly correlated. So high performing individuals in these companies are driving themselves to the fullest. Their stress is through the roof.
Yes.
So it's going to bring this out, and these symptoms are going to show. For sure.
Absolutely. I have no doubt. Well, I know I'm ADHD, but we're not going to talk about me tonight. We're going to talk about this. So tonight, Dr. Clayman, she's going to be discussing empowering parents with knowledge and options that are out there for them when they are struggling, oftentimes with a child, but this is not just going to be for children tonight. I mean, you can take this information and use it as adults as well that may be struggling. So actually, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. She's a pharmacist. She is brilliant. She was raised in New York. She was raised in Brooklyn, New York, and now lives in Delray Beach, Florida. And I want you to tell us how you got into this world right now of helping parents navigate the challenges of a neurodistinct child.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. So like Danny said, I'm a pharmacist for over 16 years now. And I loved what I was doing. I was happy being a pharmacist. I never in my life would have imagined transitioning to being a functional medicine health consultant and to anything that I'm doing today, because I was helping people. I thought that's what I was doing. And that's my passion. That's what I wanted to do to facilitate health. So as a pharmacist, I was happy doing that. At the age of 33, my health took a turn. I went from being a really healthy person, or I thought I was a healthy person. I never had medical complaints, to being diagnosed with multiple autoimmune and autoinflammatory diseases. So I was not able to function. I couldn't get through the day. My entire body ached. My joints ached. I couldn't squeeze an eyedropper. It got to the point that I could not squeeze an eyedropper bottle, and I would collapse midday. So naps became essential, because if I didn't find a soft surface to land on, I would collapse on the floor. And this wasn't like I didn't get a good night's sleep, I'm tired. It was just my body would refuse to function. So, I went to all the specialists, I got the workups. They must have taken like 100 tubes of blood. And I remember a top rheumatologist in New York, highly regarded, highly recommended. I was sitting in the office and he tells me that I have multiple autoimmune and inflammatory conditions, and just starts telling me the medications I would need for life to function. And he was like, you needed to take this yesterday. I don't even know if we can slow the progression enough at this point. So you just need to start. And, he tells me that within 10 years, I may be bedridden. And I had 2 young children. My daughter was 1.5 years. My son wasn't even 3. I mean, this was, like their whole future, my whole journey as a parent, how I wanted to show up as a mother, and all of that just came crashing down, like this new reality that was laid before me. So, and he just goes on, before I could even process any of this. He's just like, you know what, I'm going to give you the loading dose today. It's 1 shot in each thigh. I'm going to go get it. And then you're just going to continue getting it monthly from your pharmacy. And he walks out. And I just sat there. And, Danny, something inside me, and thank God, the universe and everything else, I can thank that there's a voice that said, you know what, this can't be the only option.
Right.
Like there must be something else. And as a pharmacist, like I had all the side effects rolling through my head, like a commercial, that whole scroll of things that now, you can travel, and all of these things that come with taking these medications. I'm like, this just cannot be it. And this cannot be me. So by the time he came back, I was dressed, I was ready to go. And I said, you know what, thank you so much, doctor. I'll follow up with you in 2 weeks. And I left that office. I never came back. I was so fortunate enough. I found functional medicine. I found a great practitioner, and I dove headfirst. I mean, I did absolutely everything he told me, overhauled my diet, my lifestyle. At the time, I took a bunch of supplements, stress reduction, all of these things combined. And, I'm 39. Here I am. I'm not taking any meds. And, that is not my reality. What he laid before me that day is not my life. And I have functional medicine to thank for it. And, can I tell you that I could not go back to work? Being through what I've been through, I could not step into a pharmacy and hand out medications and tell people that is what was going to bring them health and well-being. I was just so not aligned with that anymore. And that's kind of how my journey started in functional medicine.
Fantastic. And now you focus on ADD, ADHD, autism, neurodiversity. So tell us about that. Tell us about the patients and the families that you work with. Like, what are the traditional treatments for things like this, the traditional allopathic pharmaceuticals? Tell us how you do this.
So, I mean, for me, children are my passion. I work with everybody, but really, helping these kids live fulfilling lives that I know they can is really, it's what lights me up. These transformations is what I live for, because I know that they don't have to struggle. I know that they don't have to have, labels and all the things that come with neurodivergence and the treatments and the side effects, that it does not have to be the reality. And because they're young, they have their whole lives ahead of them. And if I can positively impact that trajectory, that's my mission. That's what I want to do. And the traditional way, right, of approaching ADHD or any of these conditions is medicine, right? I mean, there is therapy, occupational therapy as well if needed, but mainly it's medications, stimulants, not always, could be other drugs as well, but mainly more than anything, it's stimulants like Adderall that I prescribed. And if it doesn't work, they switch to another medication. If it doesn't work, they up the dose. But the side effects that come with these medications, especially at higher doses, right? Like we've got the main one, and in my opinion, the worst one for the pediatric population is decreased appetite. And 80% of kids get this. They're already not eating great. They already may be struggling with, eating good foods, and then decreased appetite is going to cause nutrient depletions. Nutrient depletions are going to exacerbate inattention, memory. I mean, you can't function if you're nutrient deficient.
What kind of nutrient deficiencies are we looking at? Like, what are they going to be deficient in if they take these things long term?
So it's not, the research isn't 100% set on whether it's directly impacting it. So like if you take Adderall, does it directly deplete your nutrients, or is it more of a secondary depletion because you're not eating well? It decreases the appetite, and so it's going to, decrease the nutrients. And the key ones we're seeing is zinc. It's huge. Zinc, magnesium, vitamin C, and B vitamins. Iron as well. Could be impacted, but these are major for so many systems in the body.
Huge for mental health. Zinc, magnesium, B6, those are incredible. Huge for anxiety, depression, focus. Yes. Okay.
And I mean, and also we know that, people with ADHD already start at lower, amounts of these nutrients to begin with. For whatever reason, it impacts zinc a lot. And we also know that there's a correlation between successful treatment on Adderall and levels of zinc. So if a child or person, it could be anyone, is depleted, they have low zinc, and they're on Adderall, they're going to have a less effect from the Adderall. So what's going to happen? You're going to go to the doctor and they're going to increase the dose. They're going to increase the dose and you're going to get more side effects. It's like this circle, right? So it's, there is a place for medicine, right? There's not, medications do help people. Medications do save lives. Doctors save, if you have a heart attack, go to the ER, right? Like don't go to a functional medicine practitioner, right? You need to go to the hospital and you need to get help. Like there is a place for medicine, but not the way we're using it. Not just like slapping a drug for every single symptom and then another drug to manage the side effects.
You just hit my next question. I was going to talk about medications treating symptoms, not the root cause, which is what functional medicine, integrative medicine, holistic medicine people do. And so how do you navigate that, with your patients and your families, the root cause versus the symptoms? So what are you doing to find the root cause that a traditional provider is not doing?
So in functional medicine, and as you say often, right, is that we look at the whole person, right? We don't just take a piece apart. Something's going on mentally, we look at your mental health. Something's going on with your heart, you go to a cardiologist and we look at your cardiovascular health, right? We look at the whole person. And history is a huge part of it, right? Like you spend 60 to 90 minutes just talking about your family history and intake. I have like a 20-page form, everything from birth to present, every symptom, concern, family history, the mom's health, right? Like the mom, how was her health during pregnancy and before? So all of these things really matter. The other thing we also look at is gut health. We
Yes.
cannot have a functional medicine conversation without gut health. The gut plays a huge, huge role. The microbiome, the microbiome of children with autism is different. The diversity is different than neurotypical kids. And research has shown that we're still working on exactly what strains and what's going on, but we do know that it has such an impact that, if you take two people, one with autism and one not, their microbiomes are going to look different. Their diversity is going to look different. So even taking specific strains and all those details aside, just diversifying our microbiome through food and being out in nature, right? Like getting the good guys to be working for us. Of course, it goes on a deeper level. If there's pathogens, we want to see if there's pathogens, toxins being released from the pathogens in the gut. If there's leaky gut, right? Leaky gut is leaky brain. If toxins can cross the intestinal lining, they can cross the blood-brain barrier, right? The gut-brain connection this is so important, and this is so overlooked. I mean, in traditional medicine, nobody looks at that, right? Like,
Right.
if you're
Right.
going to see a doctor for mental health, no one's going to ask you what you're eating. Are you pooping daily? Are you high, right? Like those questions don't exist.
Nope.
So that is a place to start. For me, what I do in my practice is I focus on nutrigenomics. So what that looks at is how our diet affects our gut and our gene regulation. So what we're eating and our environment can affect the genes and how they express themselves. So we're born with a set of genes, right? That doesn't change throughout life. You could get tested today, you could get tested 30 years from now. That won't change. But the genes that are expressing themselves, you can affect that through the way you're eating and through your lifestyle. And so that is what I look at first. That's my go-to because that's the blueprint of what we're working with. Right. So I'll do the intake, I'll get the history, and then the test is really easy. It's a cheek swab, so just saliva, no blood, no poking. It's great news for kiddos.
That's
So
right.
that's super easy. And then we look at what's going on. And there is no one gene that's going to show autism or ADHD or dyslexia, right? But we can't see that. But what we can see are patterns. You start to see the patterns in the pathways. And what you often see is a huge challenge in inflammation. So a predisposition for an inflammatory state. So our genes that are kind of our soldiers that go out there, there's a virus, there's a threat, and they mount an aggressive immune response. So those genes are turned on. Those genes are, have polymorphisms or SNPs. And the down regulators, the officers, they're like, okay, guys, threat is gone, time to go home, down regulate the immune system. Those guys are not working well. So what do we have? Right? This like cycle of inflammation.
Right.
And and that uses a lot of energy. That uses a ton of the body's resources and energy. So if our energy is going to managing this chronic inflammation, how can we have energy for focus, memory, communication, right? And controlling our impulses, any of these things. The brain requires a ton of energy, and we have this huge leak in our bodies to manage the inflammation. So that's one big thing. Another is methylation. Often there'll be, we all know MTHFR. There's like 9 other enzymes in that pathway that could be impacted and start to affect, and it all works together, right? Methylation affects inflammation, and then detox pathways, if those are not working well. So we start to work on each one individually, and the way you work on it matters. You can't jump ahead. First we got to take down the inflammation, right? That's the number one thing. And then we move on to other things. And then when needed, we could do gut testing, like a stool test. I think that's incredibly valuable to see because that's going to show us our microbiome, pathogens, anything like that. And it's detective work. right? So you start somewhere, and then you, depending on the person, it's very individual. You might need to look at like toxins and heavy metals. That's a environment, right? That goes into our environment. So when needed, we got to look at that.
Absolutely. So, food, let's talk about things that cause inflammation in all of us, not just neurodistinct people, right? And children. Let's talk about food. Do you do food sensitivity testing? I can't remember what you told me.
Yes, I
How do
do.
you address gut diet with these moms? What do you ask them to do initially without ever doing food sensitivity testing?
Yeah. So first things first is just put in more good stuff, and that'll start replacing the bad stuff in the diet. So before we even talk about elimination and taking out food groups, it's just, eat a cup of blueberries as a snack and replace that bag of chips, right? So let's take out the chips and put in the blueberries, and take out the dye. The dyes have to come out. They are just, the candy, yellow 4s, red 40s, anything like that needs to
Right.
go.
Yes.
And we start to focus on whole foods, things that don't come in a bag, that are not packaged, that didn't come from, hopefully not a restaurant, and just eating whole foods, and taking out dyes, things like that. I mean, everything is in a package. It's not food, right? So in addition to that, we're thinking about glutamate, for this population, which on the genetic test too will show oftentimes a challenge with that. Even without testing, we know that the majority will have a sensitivity to glutamate. So all of these packaged foods, the chips, the burger from a fast food restaurant, it's all loaded with MSG, and it's going to keep causing symptoms. So no matter what we do after, if we don't take these foods out, it's going to keep causing a problem. So that is step one. And if we move past that step, then is the elimination, right? Then we really want to take out the inflammatory foods. And I always start with gluten and dairy. So those are the biggest culprits that I've seen. If you look at the research, that's absolutely what is shown. And, you talk about the sinister seven. There are many more foods, but I feel like with children, I want to try to make it as easy as possible and not take out too much too fast. And there's a huge difference that you can see with just taking out those two.
You bet. Say it again one more time for them to hear it.
Take out gluten and dairy.
You bet. You bet. I'm telling you, gluten and dairy is the number one food sensitivity, food allergy for children in the United States. Dairy is for baby cows. It is not for humans, period. And that includes cheese, yogurt, ice cream, butter, cottage cheese, sour cream, milk, half and half, all of it. If it came from the udder of a cow, you do not need it. And I promise you it's causing issues with your child and with you, most likely. And then gluten, it'll set the inflammation back in your body for months. One bite of it will. I'm telling you, it's that inflammatory. And I'm so glad to hear you say that. Even for people who can't afford testing, right? Like they say, I can't do this nutrigenomic testing. I don't know how much it is, but I know how much ours is, and it's around $350, $400. It's not cheap, 300 something. Food sensitivity is 400. You can get into lots of
It
money.
adds up.
And so, maybe you can't afford to do something like this, but you can cut out gluten and dairy. Now it's going to cause problems, right? The family's going to go crazy on you over there, but you've got an opportunity to change the trajectory of the next generation of your entire family. And it starts with us, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And even you mentioned the nutrigenomics test, people do get excited when they get back the test and gluten doesn't show up with a polymorphism, the gene for celiac and gluten sensitivity. And they're like, oh, I'm good, right? And I'm just like, not really. There are different ways to react to gluten, right? It could be because you're not digesting it well. And a lot of people do have the issue with digestion. Maybe it's low hydrochloric acid, right? Maybe either it's a hard protein to digest. Maybe it's an actual like IgG reaction, so a sensitivity. So just because the test said don't have a SNP in that gene doesn't necessarily mean you're not reacting to it and it's not affecting you physically or cognitively. So that's why it always, regardless of what the nutrigenomics test will say, it's a food that has got to come out. And it's information. Think of it as your own experiment to know what's good for you for the rest of your life or for your child's life. You take it out for a few weeks, and if you're doing great and you add it back in and you start feeling symptoms, you're like, okay, this is definitely got to come out. It's affecting you, and it's so much easier than taking a pill.
Bingo. You bet it is. I'm telling you, it's that inflammatory. So Mad Charlie, who is Angela, who you've been talking to, right? So Angela is my assistant who has started an unbelievable organization to help the world shine the light on neurodiversity, right? So she doesn't do testing or anything like that. She's not a provider like us, but she has so you guys check her out. But she says,
she's amazing. I love her cause. It's incredible.
It's a game changer for people in crisis, for families in crisis. And Angela's going to be on Sunday night service with me as well, talking about what she's doing. But she says, so genetic testing along with food sensitivity testing is the best way to determine a whole picture of inflammatory markers? ? Is that true?
It is. It's absolutely true. Food sensitivity tests are not 100% reliable. Mm-hmm. So there is a margin of error. However, it's a great starting point because if we're not doing the food sensitivity test, a whole lot needs to come out. And maybe unnecessarily, but that's the only way, right? That's the gold standard, is to do a full elimination. And with kids, that's hard because one, we don't want to deplete them, right? There's some foods that are really nutritious that you need to take out because it's part of the process to figure out what's causing symptoms, to decrease that inflammation, to take it down. You need to take out the inflammatory foods. But if we do a test and we know specifically the foods that they're sensitive to, we don't need to take out the rest.
That's right.
So in my opinion, it's worthwhile doing the test in children than going in blind because you just end up leaving more foods in for them and it's just easier.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Look, Candy says, before we get on to what else you're talking about, as an educator, I can say 3/4 of the kids bringing lunches to school are bringing Lunchables. Oh my Lord, you see the controversy on that 2 weeks ago. String cheese and a fruit punch pouch. Oh my Lord, with all the colors in it and sugar. And the school lunches aren't any better.
They're not any better. It just drives me insane what the children are eating. And then we wonder why, these conditions are on the rise. We have more medication than ever, coming out. And same goes for depression and anxiety. We have more drugs than ever to treat these conditions, yet every single one of these conditions is on the rise. Exactly. We need to pause and just ask ourselves, why? How is this possible? Lunchables just drive me insane. I know my daughter asks me all the time because she takes her own lunch to school and it is not as fun as what her friends are eating. And I've just got to explain to her, honey, just because other people are doing it, it doesn't make it right. And this is for you. And she understands, she's 7, that this is for her health, but it's hard. It's not easy. All your friends are eating it. That's what the school is serving, juice and, gummy bears as a snack.
Yeah, it's Frankenfood. It is not food. There is nothing food about it. And there's nothing food about Chick-fil-A either, people. 51 or 53 ingredients in a Chick-fil-A sandwich. I harp on this. You don't know this, Yana, but I harp on this all the time.
I've
You
heard
might
you.
as well drive through. You might as well feed them a Lunchable. You might as well feed them a Big Mac from McDonald's. It's the same BS. It is a chemistry experiment that has to taste the same every time you drive through a Chick-fil-A, from Delray Beach, Florida to Franklin, Tennessee to New York City to Brooklyn. It has to taste the same because it's a chemistry experiment. And there is nothing healthy in a Chick-fil-A sandwich. So and you want to know one of the reasons that these numbers are on the rise? That's a big piece of it right there, letting someone else be in charge of your children's health and your health. I could get started all day on this one. So we're not going to talk about it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you tailor, the beauty about integrative medicine is it's personalized lifestyle medicine for these children, for these families. It's tailored specifically to that child sitting in front of you, or telehealth or whatever. And that's the beauty of it, is it's not a one size fits all at all for you all.
Not at all. The symptoms are the same, right? For the most part, the symptoms are the same, but the reason and the root cause that they're showing up is different for every single person. So some children, it really may be the environment, that they're in. And, somewhere like in Florida, there's a lot, mold is everywhere.
Yes.
Mold is everywhere. You don't think it's there. It's still there. It's a huge problem. So like mold toxicity, mycotoxins, heavy metals, right? So somebody, it could be that. And for somebody else, it could be leaky gut or food sensitivities. So it's really getting down to the root cause for every individual. And we kind of peel the layers, as we go, and we find out one thing, and you test, you find something else, and you know what to work on and how to address that. But yeah.
Go ahead. No,
I was going to say, with the Chick-fil-A situation, I tell parents to make their own. I mean, you can make it look like a Chick-fil-A sandwich. You can get like bakery gluten-free bread that has 3 ingredients in it, right? And make your own version of a chicken sandwich with organic chicken that you bought and you cooked fresh in your house with some lettuce and whatever. And there's their sandwich, and they could take it to school. And if someone else is eating Chick-fil-A, well, they've got their own version, and it's a healthier one without all the garbage in it. And it'll only have 5 ingredients.
Okay. So while you're talking about this, I'm going to post the recipe up for the Food Babes homemade Chick-fil-A sandwich. It is
awesome,
phenomenal. So I'm going to put this up. So as we're winding down on things, I want you to talk about 2 things. I want you to talk about stress and how it affects the microbiome and these children. And then I want you to give them a few things. What can they do while they're getting started? Maybe just a couple of supplements that would help them, that are kind of broad spectrum, something like magnesium. What would you recommend to someone who's just getting started, who has done no testing kind of thing? But stress is a big deal. Talk to us about stress in these children.
Oh, yeah. Stress is huge. And they themselves are experiencing heightened levels of stress because of their condition. They know that they're disorganized. They know they might need to hand in their homework. And then when they go to do it, it's missing because they don't know where they put it. And they're forgetful, right? So these things, like, it takes a big toll on the person, because this affects them in everything that they do in their relationships. They met someone and they forgot their name, like all of these things contribute to a much higher level of stress in people with neurodivergence. And we also know that living in a high level of stress, right, high cortisol all the time, it's going to impact, your entire body. And it's going to wipe out your microbiome. And it's just like a domino effect, right? We wipe out our microbiome, we get GI symptoms, like GI problems, leaky gut, that crosses the blood-brain barrier, worsens those symptoms. Can also go anywhere else. It's not just limited to brain, right? Can go to the joints and all kinds of things. So all of these things drive the next step and just exacerbates the condition and makes things worse. So stress reduction is absolutely one of the fundamental things that we work on. It's part of that first conversation where if we can just substitute some good foods with for the bad ones, if that's where stress comes in that same conversation. What can we do to impact that? And it could just be some simple breath work. You know, for kids, I really like the finger breath. It's like you take your hand out and you trace your finger over your other hand. You inhale as you go up, and then you come around and you exhale. And then in and then out. Yep, and you keep going. And yeah, and then you're done when you finish 5 fingers, and you can do a couple of rounds of that. And that just takes you out of the parasympathetic nervous system in the moment, whatever that moment is. Meditation, there's so many apps out there. I started my journey into holistic health. Actually, I started with yoga, a very specific style of yoga for back care. But it had such a huge impact that I needed to learn it. So then I got 8 certifications in yoga, specialty certifications. But the breath work and meditation is some of the most impactful takeaways that I had. And now it's easier than ever, to get an app and just have your child do 5 minutes of meditation before bedtime, be anytime, or this simple like breathing exercise. It really doesn't need to be complicated. And that goes a long way, and I think with older children, you can really teach them to use it in a moment because they're self-aware, they're more self-aware. So when they feel like they're losing control of the moment or a situation or an impulse, right, to do something, they take the moment, they take their 5 breaths, and then they could recenter. So that really goes a long way. In terms of supplements, my go-to is definitely magnesium. It's going to help them poop, which is often a huge issue. Detox, we need to detox. So it's going to help with the poop. It's also going to help with sleep. It's fantastic. And it's one of the nutrients is often depleted. Just dosing, you need to, think about the weight and the age of the child. So, you do want to dose it appropriately, but magnesium is definitely a go-to. Fish oil, high doses of omega-3s and turmeric. Those are my 3 go-tos. Zinc, I think you can get in a really good multivitamin and mineral supplement. And take that. I think everybody can benefit from that, but especially kids. They've got decreased appetite. They are already picky eaters. So a good multi with minerals in it, though,
Yes.
is go to. And vitamin D. Even in a state like Florida, I still say vitamin D. The doctors say you're fine. You're like at 32. Oh, you're good. No, you're not. So most of us can benefit from a vitamin D.
Absolutely. And we've got a couple of questions about magnesium. Do you recommend magnesium glycinate? That's magnesium glycinate, chelate, malate. That's what I use.
I do. Yes. That's the one, like glycinate, malate.
You bet. It's the best. It's the best there is. That's what we recommend. Yes, I taught about that today at a women's retreat that I was at. Talking about magnesium, the power of magnesium. It's got over 300 functions in your body. It's quite fascinating. Changing your diet, taking a little magnesium. I mean, oftentimes, man, they don't need much more than that. D3 is imperative, even for children. You got to have your D3 levels checked as well. But again, 30 to 80, 30 to 90, 30 to 100 is normal. Optimal is going to be 60, 70, 80. So if your child is 31, that's normal. That is no way near optimal.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, that's the difference, right? Between not being sick or at the threshold of sickness and optimal. And I think that's what, is the message that people often miss. It's like, oh, I'm okay. I went to the doctor. He said that's normal. That's normal when you're talking about a range that was created on an average of sick people. Yes. And you just made it to not be sick. That's not our optimal. So optimal, that's right. Like I always say, at least 50 or up, but you're absolutely between that 50 to 80 range.
Yeah, I'm a
Happy
big
place.
believer in, yeah. So zinc, magnesium, D3. What else did you say? What else did you say?
Omega
Oh,
3s.
heck yeah. I talked about this today too. So there are 5 things that I think most people could benefit from. Now, not everybody needs, but most people, we call it my foundational 5. It's a great multivitamin because most people are not getting the nutrients. Even if you're eating a phenomenal diet, we don't have the nutrients in the food anymore,
That's right.
period. Um, so a good multi, a fish oil, an omega, a D3, a magnesium, and a probiotic. Most people take it. What probiotic do you like? Do you have a specific one that you like for children? Now, again, there's hundreds of billions of trillions of bacteria in the gut. But if you're just starting and the mother wants a probiotic for this child, do you have a brand that you recommend?
Yeah. So if I didn't do testing and I don't know what's specifically going on in the gut, I really like the Megaspore
You bet.
biotic. It's
You bet.
great. It's gentle. It's spore forming and it's really yummy. It's like a great tasting gummy. You don't know the difference between that and candy. So the pickiest child will take it. I also like ProBiomed, but that one is more diverse. It's a little bit higher. So that kind of may go to that after. I like to rotate them too,
You
um,
bet. You
because they
bet.
all offer something, and like keeping them on rotation is a great idea for diversity. But the best thing for diversity is a diverse diet.
You bet.
Eating the rainbow, walking barefoot, on earth, spending time in nature, that is going to create the diversity. We become too sterile.
Yeah.
And God, post COVID, that's just, on a whole different level. And that really has taken our diversity, our microbiome has taken a huge hit on that. So let kids, be outside, be in the dirt, it's the best thing for their gut.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm so glad to hear you say that. I've been outside barefoot all day long, all afternoon once I got back from the women's conference. And yes, Amber, magnesium is good when you're on your period. Magnesium topically, Magna Gel, I love when you're on your period. Orally, absolutely. Also, castor oil. It's one of the great things too to help with cramps. But magnesium, fish oil, incredible for cramping. It helps great. I know we're talking about autism tonight and all of that, but yeah, and there's just not much that magnesium won't help. Migraines, anxiety, depression, restless legs, constipation, high blood pressure, heart palpitations. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, I don't go without mine. That's one supplement that stays. Other supplements may go, but that magnesium I can't live without it. It's one of the ones that stays for me. And I say the same to everyone.
Absolutely. Okay. So, Tara wants to know what's the best multi for a child. The one they will take is my answer, because they are stubborn little things oftentimes. What multi do you recommend? Do you have one?
I do. There are many that I've tried, and I will have to echo your words. The one that they take is the one that you stick with. I have had my own kids spit them out. They could be the best multivitamin ever, but they just won't take it. They'll intentionally hide it somewhere, and I'll find it later in the day. And I'm like, oh, I thought they took this, So when you're working with kids, it's just whatever you can get them to take. But I do love Kirkman makes a great one. It's a multivitamin and mineral, and it's got CoQ10 in it. And that's not something I find in a multi for kids. And I specifically like it for the kids I work with because we often find an impact in the mitochondria on the nutrigenomics panel. And that helps a whole lot. And it's a small, it's appropriate for a child. And it's not easy to find in the supplement world. So I absolutely love that one. For that reason. Also, Garden of Life, I want to say, right? Not Garden of Health. Garden of Life makes a good one. And I think that one actually tastes pretty good, but it doesn't have the CoQ10 in it.
Right. Okay. April wants to know, and as does Mad Charlie, do you treat adults as well?
I do. I do. I often have, after I work with a child, I often have the parents ask me, can you do testing on me? Yeah, I have this, and that. So I work with adults as well. And my passion just lies in children. And I talk about it always because I've told Danny this before, like most of us have come into functional medicine when we've hit rock bottom. Our lives have just taken us to a place where, you're going through all these things, all these conditions, and you feel like there's no way out other than what a doctor is telling you. And this horrible prognosis of what your life will look like. And when working with kids, it is my hope that I can impact their lives from a young age so that doesn't have to be what their life looks like, that I can somehow help set them on a better trajectory, on a healthier way of life, and managing their neurodivergence, right? Managing it in a way that it doesn't intervene with their day-to-day life, and they can be happy, healthy children and into adulthood. So that was a very long answer. I do to working with adults. I do. Just my passion lies with children.
I'm so proud of you. Do you have any guys? Show her lots of love. Now, I've shared multiple times in the chat her website. Tell them about the surprise you have for them, for our tribe.
Oh, thank you so much, Danny. I do. For everybody here listening, for Danny's tribe, I'm offering a free discovery call. It's a free consultation with me. It's on dryanaclayman.com/Danny. You just fill out your name and the contact form, and we can set up a call. Happy to hear about any questions, concerns, anything that you're dealing with. And it's completely free. So just go ahead and do it. I'd be happy to talk to you and meet you. And I also just set up my socials. I'm so bad. I just got around to setting up my Instagram account. So if you guys are finding this helpful and enjoying this conversation, please follow me at Dr. Yana Clayman for more, helpful things that I'll be posting there.
Yeah, we're going to get her online. She had one follower when I joined her, when I started following, or none yesterday. I was her first follower, I think, on
Instagram. It was you. It was you and my husband. I got my supporters.
So I need every one of you to go to Instagram and follow her, and go to Facebook and follow her, because this was her very first social media extravaganza, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. And I am so proud of you. You did an amazing job. And you can't see it, but they are hitting their heart buttons left and
thank you.
right.
Thank you so much.
You are changing the face of neurodiversity across the United States. You will, and you will change. If you change the trajectory of one family's life, then you have done what you were set out to do. And so I know what it's like to have a child that's different and not one of the herd. And it is horrifyingly tragic to watch when things fall apart. And thank you for all you do. Thank you. And thank you for giving our tribe a little love there. So go check her website out. She has a great website. And so, guys, listen. So we are moving. Those of you that don't get our newsletter, you might ought to, because we are moving one street over, not for a couple of months. It's going to take a long time for us to get everything done. It's a total rebuild, remodel situation, build out. But we are having a huge moving sale, spring cleaning sale right now. I will put the link there. If you're looking, there's lots of things on sale that we need to move out. I just paid a lot of taxes, so there you go. Click that. It'll take you straight to our online store. If you've never shopped online, then do that. You can get, whatever. We got a whole store there. But what I want you all to know, and I'm going to type this in right now. What do you want us to sell? What do you want us to sell in the new supplement store, right? So it can be whatever. What do you think that is missing from Middle Tennessee and online that we need to sell? Are there supplements you think we should sell? Are there wellness products? I mean, nothing is too crazy. I don't have to order it, but we are getting ready to change the entire face of Middle Tennessee's healthcare and the way people look at healthcare. I've been doing this for 14 years. I've been in the same building for 10 years. We are leveling up now, and we are looking for other people, other providers, other specialties to come in and partner with us and sublease from us, because I have 3 extra rooms. See, it's a shame you're not here.
I was just about to say, too bad I'm not there. That sounds incredible.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be amazing. So I do have a pelvic floor physical therapist who's almost ready to sign the line there. She's amazing. She's the one I refer everyone to. So I think she's going to be in there, which is going to be fantastic, because all of us women have a pelvic floor. So, but I would love to have a therapist, maybe an acupuncturist, massage therapist, neurofeedback. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, some gluten-free. Look at all of you all over here. Now, I'm not a grocery store, for crying out loud. So I know so I'm trying to decide, could we do like take, I don't know. We're not going to take up time on this, but write your things up here. Let us know what you think, and I will read, and you can also email
But do
store.
you sell essential oils?
Well, I'm with Young Living, so I can sell Young Living. They just made it darn near impossible several years ago when I was trying to do it, for you to retail it, so now I need to get back in. I need to do that. So I sell Young Living. doTERRA is great too, but I mean, I'm in with Young Living. I love Young Living. So that would be great. Essential oils.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
diffusing that for a couple of hours during the night has been shown to improve memory and cognition. So there you go. Another non-pharmaceutical way to help with memory, and you're doing nothing. You're just turning on a diffuser at night. And if you're selling those oils, that's incredible.
Isn't that incredible? I wonder which oils have been shown to.
So rotating them. It's not one specific oil, but it's the fact that it's new every night. Like, you're surprising your brain is part of what was shown to help. So you just get like lavender and orange and whatever that your favorites are, and you diffuse like a different one for 7 nights, and you just keep rotating. And
What?
2
Okay,
hours
well,
while you're sleeping.
Yes. Well, I love sweet orange, and I love frankincense, and I just love the way oils, and I love patchouli. Nobody else loves patchouli but me. And I love patchouli. When I walk in a store and there's patchouli, I love it. So I don't know the health benefits of patchouli other than covering up weed, and I don't smoke weed. So, but anyway, I just love the smell of it. So, okay, that was a great tip right there. If you missed what she said, rotating for 7 nights different essential oils while you sleep has been shown to increase memory. I mean, is that not something? And we can all use that.
Right. Absolutely. That covers so many things for
Absolutely.
dementia,
All right.
Alzheimer's, our youngsters. So yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Any parting words? Any parting words? Do you have anything to say, sis?
I just want to tell parents, because it's just such a stress on families. Parenting itself, it comes with its own stressors, right? But when you have a child who is neurodistinct, right, that is just an added layer from, keeping track of school teachers, what they said, complaints, appointments that they need to go on, therapy, what to give them, what to not, the, outbursts and the anger and impulsiveness. So it takes a toll on the whole family, and it's okay to feel overwhelmed, to know that you're not alone. There are resources. There are many practitioners that, to help with this. There are resources online, and the treating the family as a whole, I think, is just so helpful. So when you're doing anything, whether it's the meditation or breath work or the food or the diet, just do it as a family. Do it together. Like, hey guys, there's this new thing we're trying out, and do it as a bunch, all the siblings, right? Nobody gets singled out. And it's just a new thing we're doing and we're trying out. And it just takes some of the stress off of, oh, I need to do this for my child here, but not for this child. And I need to keep track. you know, you guys are dealing with a lot, and taking this approach for yourselves, those breaths, you know, that 5-minute meditation, take that time for yourself and give yourself some credit.
Girl, you could, and I agree, Angela. Preach it, Dr. Yana. Absolutely. You're not broken. Your family's not broken. Your child is not broken. You may be in crisis, but there are resources out there. And when you are in crisis, it is so difficult to even know where to turn. But she gave us some great ideas, just the breathing as well, some magnesium, etc. So
That's
thank
right.
you
And
for that.
Angela, she's an incredible resource. Mad Charlie, what she's doing is so great, and will help families out there. So check it out. I'm sure that you will find something there that will help.
Absolutely. And Angela, put your website in there before we log off here. Before we log off, get your website in. Katie Ann asked what oils, any specific. So if you missed what she said rotate them, things like lavender and sweet orange and maybe patchouli, maybe frankincense, maybe rose oil. I mean, there's a million different oils out there. I don't know. I don't know if peppermint is great for memory and ADD and ADHD. I don't know if it'd keep you awake at night. Nothing
It's
keeps
the
me awake.
novelty. Just try it, you know, and
Yeah.
if you hate it, then don't use it, because it's going to keep you up at night, and it's not going to be a great experience. So anything that calms you and you enjoy, just keep it on a rotation, I think, is key.
All right, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for hanging in there with us. We went a little bit over. Don't forget, check out our sale online and in the store. And I appreciate you. And you rocked it tonight on your very first one. I mean, and look at this. Candy said, no, these children aren't broken. They are different with gifts and talents to share. That is a perfect way to end
That
it
is
right
right.
here. I appreciate you guys more than you will ever know. Share this with your tribe, because I guarantee you there's somebody out there that needs to hear this. And I don't know everybody to reach, right? So every single one of you share this Facebook Live. Thank you, Yana. I appreciate you.
Danny, thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for spending your night with us.